A stranger handed me her baby at the grocery store and said, "Hold him for 1 second." Then she walked out the exit. I was standing in the cereal aisle comparing prices on oatmeal when a woman I'd never seen before walked straight up to me and shoved a baby into my arms. She looked me dead in the eyes and said, "Hold him for 1 second. I forgot my wallet in the car." Before I could even process what was happening, she speed walked toward the front doors and disappeared into the parking lot. I stood there frozen, holding this infant who couldn't have been more than 4 months old, wrapped in a blue blanket that smelled like cigarette smoke. I waited 1 minute, then 5, then 15. Other shoppers started giving me strange looks as I paced near the registers, bouncing this baby who had started fussing. I asked the cashier if she'd seen which way the woman went, and she just shrugged and said, "People forget stuff in their cars all the time." But something in my gut told me this wasn't that. After 30 minutes, I walked to customer service and explained what happened. The manager, a woman named Diane, looked at me like I was crazy. She asked me to describe the woman, and I told her everything I could remember. Blonde hair, maybe mid-30s, wearing a green jacket and jeans. Diane checked the parking lot cameras and came back with her face completely pale. "Sir, that woman got into a vehicle and drove away. She's been gone for 25 minutes. My stomach dropped. I looked down at the baby in my arms, and he was staring up at me with these big brown eyes like he was trying to figure out why his mother had just vanished. I called 911 immediately. While we waited for police, I noticed the baby's blanket had something written on the corner in permanent marker, a phone number. I dialed it with shaking hands, and a man answered on the third ring. "Who is this?" he demanded. I explained that I was holding a baby that had been handed to me by a woman at the grocery store, and the line went completely silent. Then he said something that made my blood run cold. "That's my son. My ex-girlfriend kidnapped him from my apartment 3 days ago. The police have been searching for him everywhere." I felt my knees go weak. This wasn't some overwhelmed mom running an errand. This was an abduction. The man, whose name was Derek, started sobbing on the phone, thanking me over and over. He said his ex, Brianna, had taken the baby during a custody dispute after a judge ruled in his favor. She'd disappeared with the child and hadn't been seen since. The police arrived 10 minutes later, and I handed the baby to an officer who confirmed everything Derek had told me. Brianna had been on the run for 72 hours, and they'd been tracking her movements across 3 states. But here's where it gets even crazier. The detective pulled me aside and asked if Brianna had said anything else to me, anything at all. I told him she just said she forgot her wallet. He nodded slowly and explained that Brianna had apparently planned to abandon the baby somewhere she thought he'd be found safely because she knew she couldn't keep running. She'd been spotted at 2 other stores in the past week, but had chickened out each time. Something about me, standing there in that cereal aisle, made her finally do it. The detective said I probably saved that baby's life because Brianna had been living out of her car with no supplies, no formula, nothing. The baby was dehydrated and hadn't been properly fed in days. They rushed him to the hospital while I sat in the manager's office, trying to process that a random trip for oatmeal had turned into this. 3 hours later, Derek showed up at the store. He was still in his work uniform, and his eyes were red and swollen from crying. He walked up to me and just hugged me without saying a word. We stood there for a full minute before he finally pulled back and said, "You have no idea what you did for me. I thought I'd never see my son again." He showed me pictures on his phone of the nursery he'd set up, the crib he'd painted himself, the little stuffed elephant he'd bought before the baby was even born. He told me Brianna had struggled with severe mental health issues and had refused treatment for months. He'd tried to get her help, but she kept pushing him away until she finally just took the baby and ran. The police found her 6 hours later at a motel 40 miles away. She was arrested without incident and is now getting the psychiatric evaluation she desperately needed. Derek named me the baby's godfather. Brianna is receiving inpatient treatment and will face supervised visitation once she's stable.